rebel force has penetrated the shield and landed on Endor.
This is where the fun begins.
A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away.
This is Rebel Force Radio.
Your source for the Force.
Star Wars news and commentary.
With Jason Swank and Jimmy Mack.
I've seen Star Wars 500 times.
Star Wars #1!
This station is now the ultimate power in the universe. I suggest we use it.
Now it's time for Rebel Force Radio.
We would be honored if you would join us.
All right, welcome back, Rebel Force Radio. This week we've got more breaking down the latest buzz surrounding the Mandalorian and Grogu. That's what all Star Wars fans, I think, are talking about these days. A big publicity push with that Super Bowl spot. Kind of started with a whimper. We're going to get into some of that. There's reactions happening within the industry and within Lucasfilm about that. Did it miss the mark? I think they're starting to examine whether or not it did what it was designed to do. Plus, Maul merch. We're going to talk about some of the new merchandise that has been shown out on the showroom floor at Toy Fair a couple of weeks back, and there might be some clues about Maul Shadow Lord. And speaking of Maul Shadow Lord, the Shadow Lord himself appeared on Katie Sackhoff's podcast. We'll have highlights from that. And, those tauntauns that were in the Super Bowl, the big game ad, with tauntauns back in the spotlight. We've got a little tauntaun talk coming up here on Rebel Force Radio. So you don't want to go anywhere. Strap in. Packed show this week for us. And by us, I mean Rebel Force Radio. Myself, Jason, and with me, as always, my good friend and yours from Chicago, Jimmy Mack.
Hey, Jason. Hey, Star Wars fans. Tauntaun talk. Count me in. Tauntaun.
There's got to be a podcast out there somewhere called Tauntaun Talk, right?
Tauntaun Talk. Welcome to Tauntaun Talk. I'm your host, Jimmy Mack, with my co-host, Jason Swank. Let's talk the Taun. Okay, forget about it. We will be talking a lot about the Mandalorian and Grogu, though. You know we will in this show. But I'm looking forward to hearing what our listeners thought about the trailer, because it was a pretty exciting trailer. I really enjoyed the trailer, and I'm feeling more and more pumped up for the Mandalorian and Grogu, even though a lot of us felt like that Super Bowl ad may have missed the mark just a little bit. I think it would have worked out better if the trailer had come out simultaneously, like the Super Bowl ad ends and it says, go watch the trailer now. Or if they just released a trailer with 128 million eyeballs locked in on that. Well, it'd be more than that because everybody has two eyeballs, but 128 million people were watching the Super Bowl. So you don't really have better advertising opportunities. And
I'm starting to wonder if what was at the heart of that was some frugality. That trailer clocked in at almost 2.5 minutes, and the Super Bowl ad for Mando Grogu was about a little over 30 seconds. So, they could have cut down the Mando trailer like they did for when they ran it on during the Olympics, and then had the call to action to go to YouTube or the Star Wars website or whatever and watch it online. Yeah, they could have done that, but still, you're still looking at a 60 or a 90, and Super Bowl rates, I don't know. It makes me wonder if they were being a little cheap, and it was disguised as cleverness. We're going to be clever, and we're going to put these tauntauns out there. And I it bugs me a little bit, Jim, because I think, people are saying, oh, the tauntauns didn't do the job, or, the tauntauns didn't get fans excited. It's like, don't blame the tauntauns.
Yeah, keep the tauntauns out of this. Keep the tauntauns out your mouth. That's right.
Slap. We got to slap somebody.
But, don't blame the tauntauns. I'm glad you bring that up, Jason, because I know you have always been someone has always stood tall for tauntauns, tauntaun rights, and taking care of tauntauns, tauntaun rescue. I know you and your family have always been strong supporters of.
It's a calling.
Those efforts.
It really is.
Yeah.
It's a calling. So
I'm
glad to
you.
carry that.
I'm on board.
I do.
So save the tauntauns, or don't blame the tauntauns. Yeah, that's it. Hashtag don't blame the tauntauns. Well, I was excited to see tauntauns in the trailer for the upcoming film. So I put together a top 3 list, top 3 all-time greatest tauntaun moments in pop culture history. But before we get to that, I want to remind everyone that we have a very cool event coming up in Cleveland on May 23rd, the Rebel Force Radio Mandalorian and Grogu After Show Live. We want you to be there. It's going to be happening at Playhouse Square in one of their theaters there. Jason will, you would probably have more information on that.
Yeah. It's going to be in the Upper Allen, which is the upstairs of a gorgeous renovated theater. And I think it's just going to be a great backdrop for RFR. And tickets will go on sale next week. They were going to go on sale this week, but the guy that I needed to handle all that for me decided to go on vacation. Who goes on vacation in February like this?
Yeah. Well,
but yeah. So, but we'll get it all ironed out and buttoned up when he gets back on Monday, and we'll get those tickets on sale. So if you're a Rebel Force Radio Patreon, we're going to have a pre-sale for you only for a couple of days, and then we'll put the tickets on sale to the public if there are any left over. There'll be some left over. This is a nice, big, spacious venue that, and like I said before, I loved the Cabaret Theater where we were before. But it does get really tight in there, and I just wanted our listeners, especially after, being in where were we for May the 4th in Connecticut.
At the Bristol Theater. I forget what the name of that
we were in Bristol in that beautiful theater.
Yeah,
and I just liked the fact that people could kind of stretch out a little bit there, and so anyway, I think it's going to be somewhat comparable to that. So, but it's going to be a great time. It's going to be a great time. So many great restaurants within walking distance. There's a hotel right across the street. Perfect place for you to stay. I think we're going to have a special rate for Rebel Force Radio listeners. They're going to be traveling in, so there'll be details about that, as well as an after show that we'll have, just an after party. After we do the live podcast, very close by, again, all within walking distance. And the night before, that Friday, May 22nd, there will be a casual hang at a local movie theater where we'll all catch the Mando and Grogu film together if your schedule lines up for it. But we kind of have to see it because we got to talk about it the next day. I mean,
so you want to keep an eye on next week. You want to keep your eye on rebelforceradio.com and all of our socials, and we'll lay the details out about how to acquire tickets and when they go on sale and all of the specific stuff. Patreon supporters will get the information first, and it'll be a great time. And then we'll keep our eye on when those tickets go on sale for the Mandalorian and Grogu. I believe that will happen in early April.
You think they'll do like a big? You think they'll do like a big on sale?
No, they'll just go on sale. They'll just go on sale. We'll know about it, but yeah. It's not going to be like the old days where you'd call up on a movie phone and
welcome to movie phone.
Yeah, right. Tickets for Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, will go on sale soon. Call back.
With this title, it was funny because I remember when all the prequels were coming out, and because I have all my ticket stubs, back when they gave you paper tickets for movies, and it's kind of a bummer because my Episode 1 and Episode 2 ticket stubs just say Star Wars. Like there weren't enough characters for everything. And then I have one for Revenge of the Sith that just says Revenge of, right? because you get the character limits.
And it gets torn. Does it get torn?
And it gets torn. Right. Yeah. And there's a character limit, but like with this one, Star Wars, The Mandalorian, and Grogu. What is the ticket stub? What would the ticket stub say? I mean, would it just say Mando? Would it say Star Wars? Mandalo? I don't know. It's a good thing they're digital tickets, like Mandalo.
Yeah, right. It's all just there on your
Barry
phone.
Mandalo.
Yeah, there you go. So that's going to be happening. The Rebel Force Radio Mandalorian and Grogu after show happening in Cleveland, May 23rd, and we want you guys to join us. I know some people have already made arrangements and stuff, and tickets haven't even gone on sale yet. So we anticipate tickets will fly out the door once they go on sale. So you want to jump on it next week. Keep your eye on rebelforceradio.com and, of course, the RFR social media accounts, which, by the way, I'm not really paying much attention to these days. Can we have a little discussion about social media? I'm really sick of it all, I'm just like, I'm so sick of it all. And just recently, there were other accounts piled on to the traditional ones, which have always been Facebook and Twitter. Then Instagram weaseled its way in. And then we started having things like Threads and Blue Balls and all of these other different accounts. I can't keep track of it all. And I don't want to. People are so mean on Twitter, or X, formerly known as. And that's always been the tradition there. So I have no problem. Yeah. I have no problem ignoring Twitter. Facebook, that's pretty much where I'm posting stuff. So if you really want to stay on top of Rebel Force Radio, the best thing to do is join us on Patreon. But if you want to do it the social media route, the two places where you get the most activity from us is Facebook and Instagram. And, of course, YouTube, which also has its own social media sort of function there where you make posts and stuff. And I'm just so fed up with it all. I just want... Can we just have one outlet?
It's so
so hard to have to juggle all of these other outlets. I'm just kind of fed up with it all.
I just want to do a podcast, right? Isn't that kind of the deal? Just want to do my podcast.
And Facebook has always been, for our purposes, the functionality of Facebook has always worked really well. And Twitter, I'm just sick of. It's just so toxic and gross on Twitter. I can't stand it. And finally, I've just had enough. All of our headaches that we've ever had producing these shows and being a part of this, quote, community have erupted from Twitter. And I knew Twitter was bad news the first day it came across my desk back in 2008. I knew Twitter was going to be a handful, and it turned out to be so. Nothing specifically, that I'm pointing at or recent or anything like that. It's just things I see on Twitter I just don't like. So sick of Twitter, done with Twitter. Forget
just
the Twitter.
Just like ticket stubs, when you start to limit the characters that people can use to express themselves, they had to find all, and I know that, depending on what type of account you have and all of that, they've expanded it, but the culture of Twitter began with a severely limited number of words, characters that you could use, and what it did was it rewarded pithy, snarky commentary. It rewarded that from the very beginning. And even though they've changed the rules a bit, it still has that same culture, which it's all about being first. It doesn't matter about being accurate or being right. It's about being first and, having the hot take. And I think some of the other platforms just don't necessarily reward that. I enjoy Instagram because it's just a lot more. I don't know. It's a little bit more about video and photos and funny memes and stuff like that. Facebook, it's always going to be my sentimental favorite because Rebel Force Radio official Facebook group and, those early days when it was the only platform we were really posting on. So, Yeah, I'm kind of with you. I'm just sort of over it. I
Oh my
really
God!
am. And I was never really under it either, to be totally truthful with you. But
And how
it's
many
a necessary evil?
How many other social media platforms were we told we had to join because it was going to be the next big, huge thing? And those platforms don't even exist anymore. So I'm tired of it.
Whatever happened to Tom and MySpace, and that was sort of dying out actually right when we started doing these podcasts. MySpace was kind of wrapping it up, and Tom was no one's friend anymore. Yeah. Were you on MySpace, Jim? Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Was that like you're at the radio station and the manager brings you in? They're like, "All right, we got this MySpace thing. We gotta be all over it."
I've never been in an instance where something like that has happened. Believe me. At a radio station? No.
They didn't embrace the social media?
No, they're still trying to figure out podcasting. It's ridiculous how, slow to the uptake my radio brethren have been when it has come to things like internet. Internet, period. They've been very slow to do anything cool. So
maybe they feel like we do, though. They're like, all we want to do is just be on the radio. I don't want to have to do websites and social media and all of that.
Oh, they live for all of that stuff. It's just there's too many voices at the table, and so thus nothing ever gets done. And when it does get done, it gets done incorrectly. I'm always sitting there going, hey, guys, you could always ask me. I'll just be here then. See you later.
Right, I'll be over here in the corner.
I'll be over here in the corner hosting my very successful Star Wars podcast that's been going for 2 decades with my good friend and yours, Jason Swank.
We just can't figure out this podcasting thing, and there's Mac over there.
Yeah, I know. Hello. But I don't mean to just rail on radio and social media. That's not what people are tuning into Rebel Force Radio. You guys want to hear the cutting edge
talk.
You want to hear the cutting edge Star Wars commentary that only we can pull off. And yeah, Tauntaun Talk is the new segment. It's the top 3 greatest moments in Tauntaun history as compiled here on Rebel Force Radio. So number 3 in our top 3 all-time Tauntaun moments is this moment featuring Bill Hader with Conan O'Brien as Bill Hader does an impersonation of a dying Tauntaun. Falls face first.
Oh, what an insanely talented guy, Bill Hader is. But here's the thing. Do you notice that as soon as he starts into the impression, the audience starts dying laughing? They know exactly what this is. This is taking people back to their childhoods or whatever, So again, don't blame the Tauntauns. It's very important that Lucasfilm learn, or whatever ad agency they're working with, that they learn the right lesson. If this ad didn't stick, it's not because of the Tauntauns, man. Listen to that crowd. They love Bill Hader and the Tauntaun.
Absolutely. And he does that Tauntaun thing that I don't know how to describe it other than it's rabble. I always thought he sounded a lot like the Hamburglar from the old McDonald's commercials with that rabble.
Oh, yeah.
Because I remember the Hamburglar used to run around making a similar sound. Rabble.
Hamburglar.
So maybe that's where the guys from Skywalker Sound got the idea. But that's number 3 on the list of all-time greatest Tauntaun moments here on Tauntaun Talk. Now, for number 2, who could forget the Family Guy adaptations of the Star Wars films? And, of course, their take on Empire Strikes Back featured all the important moments that happened on the planet Hoth, including this one featuring Peter Griffin sort of standing in for Han Solo.
This may smell bad, kid, but it'll keep you warm. I thought they smelled bad. On the outside.
Nobody milks a bit. And like Seth MacFarlane. Nobody beats the dead horse like Seth MacFarlane. Oh my gosh. But that is such a funny, interesting era of Star Wars. George just didn't give a you know what. He let everybody jump in the sandbox and play with him. And Jim, you've pointed out before too that a lot of it has to do with like the age, like Jet was, back then when because Jet was into George's son was into Robot Chicken and Family Guy and all this stuff at that time, and every dad wants to look cool and hip to their son, and so I think George just really just let everything go, and let all these guys have fun with it. Guys like Seth MacFarlane and Seth Green. So,
well, he got so into it that he actually voiced himself in this scene, which is our number one all-time greatest Tauntaun moments. It's from Robot Chicken, their very first Star Wars special. And this features Seth Green as a convention-going nerd cosplaying who just happens to bump into George Lucas at the convention center, and hilarity ensues.
You're George Lucas!
I take it you're here for the Star Wars convention.
I sure am. Want to see my costume? See? I'm a tauntaun. But I don't have to tell you. You invented tauntauns.
Well, that's very interesting.
Listen to my tauntaun call.
Nicely done.
Nicely done.
What they forgot to do here in this Robot Chicken is to have all of George's security around him. All the guys in the dark suits, and you don't just run into George in an elevator and he's there by himself.
Not at the convention. People have bumped into George Lucas out and about, just living his life in the public in the strangest of places, like shopping mall food courts, or
the George photo bombs.
The Greasy Spoon Diner that George goes to.
I remember that one, yeah.
He goes every Tuesday and Friday, and people know that. Nobody says a word to him. That's why
he gets the special. On Tuesdays and Fridays they have the special, and he saves a few bucks.
So you hear about that, but at the convention center or any public appearance for George Lucas, it's the deal where the two black SUVs pull up in the back toward the loading dock, and then all these guys jump out, and George is in the middle, usually with his wife or some other family member or something. They get shuffled off somewhere, and Filoni's behind them, and me and Jason are just standing there watching it going on. Filoni runs by us and points at us and goes,
yeah,
and he just runs off. These things have actually happened.
True story. Yeah.
We're standing there holding our bags from Disney, looking like idiots. That's just
I'm
part
gonna
of
go
our
with George. Yeah.
So, but that's my number one Robot Chicken Tauntaun moment is that with George Lucas and stuff. But we do have sort of a runner-up. It's just something to kind of put a little bow on this Tauntaun talk, because Tauntauns are everywhere now. People can't stop talking about Tauntauns after that Super Bowl ad. I don't know about you, but it's all of the morning talk shows are discussing it, the evening talk shows, all the monologues are filled with lots of jokes about Tauntaun. I should say that Jon Stewart actually did something about it, but it was more of a visual gag, and who cares, it's talking about the snow up in the Northeast there, New York and all that.
With all the snow that we've had, and it's been a very snowy, cold winter, certainly here in the Midwest, and of course the Northeast has had its recent problems. I keep waiting for the newsman to just drop a Hoth reference. But it's just not happening. I mean, we've covered it here on Star Wars and Pop Culture when newsmen will do that. But it's been very, very hostless with all this winter, with these winter storms and all that. Like, can't you throw me out a little Star Wars and Pop Culture reference?
Yeah,
Come on, Echo Base, Tauntauns, Hoth. I'll see you in hell. Something.
I love the "I'll see you in hell." That's always. I mean, what else are you gonna say to somebody in the second half of February? You know, there's no season's greetings to be had, no happy Valentine's, no happy New Year. We're close to St. Patrick's Day, so you can say that. But who's gonna start saying Happy St. Patrick's Day in February? Nobody. So you just say, "See you in hell." See you in hell.
Have we just created, this is the official February, like post-Valentine's Day greeting.
Yeah.
So so everybody, kids take note, between February 15th and March 16th, or 17th, the official greeting is see you in hell.
Greeting or, something to say when you're departing. It works like aloha. It works both as a greeting and as a farewell. And then the proper response to the person, the person says, see you in hell, you should definitely go, rabble, 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 rabble. just so they know you're on board with the whole thing. All right, so here's our runner-up. It's D. Bradley Baker on Rebel Force Radio discussing his tonton fandom.
Who or what, in the interest of inclusivity, we got to say who or what is your favorite Star Wars character?
The Tauntaun. The Tauntaun at the beginning of Episode 5.
That's a first here at Rebel Force Radio in the Yoda Questionnaire.
Yeah, because that is the moment that I knew I was going to see a movie that was better than the one I just saw a few years ago.
Ooh, wow.
And I cannot tell you how exciting that was to realize, this is better. This is actually, it's still cool. It's still someplace I've never been. It's still got alien creatures. It's like, and then, and that dovetails into the walkers. It's like, I've never seen anything like this. It's got to be the Tauntaun.
Wow. So the Tauntaun is the harbinger of great things that are yet to come.
Yeah.
Is there somewhere in your capabilities the ability to sound like a tauntaun?
I gotta, because I always think of like, you're like pulling on the reins, right? That kind of stuff.
That's not a sound drop from Jimmy Mac's voluminous archives. That's D. Bradley Baker live doing his tauntaun.
They've got it covered already with sound design. I mean, they've got their tauntauns, but I'd love to be a tauntaun. Let's do. I think I actually said that at a convention recently. Is they say, well, what kind of new Star Wars series would you like to see? And I say I would like to see a documentary about the life of tauntauns, and do it like a Richard Attenborough type documentary.
Richard Attenborough
about tauntauns. I mean,
you could probably do the whole show. You could probably do Attenborough. You could do the tauntauns. You could do the whole thing.
I don't care. They can have somebody else do it. I'll help out, or I'll do it. But I just want to see tauntauns.
D. Bradley Baker, a big fan of tauntauns. We're all big fans of tauntauns, and of course, they didn't have D. Bradley Baker back there in the early '80s to do the voice. But they were. It was an amalgamation of animal sounds, I believe, that created the original tauntaun effect.
I think so. Yeah,
yaks or something.
I don't know what they used for that, but, and of course Ben Burt with the pitch control and the way that he knew how to make a sound out of something ordinary sound extraordinary. He knew all the tricks. So could be a few different animals for all we know.
Oh, it definitely was.
Rabble, rabble, rabble. I just want to know where that came from. Rabble, 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 rabble. But
see, I hear more like of a rabbit, almost like a rabbit, or rabble.
I hear rabble. Like I said, that's what I believe
the Hamburglar used to say in those old commercials from the 70s.
Rabble,
No,
rabble, rabble.
I see here that it was a donkey was the kind of the central effect for the tauntaun.
Interesting. A donkey.
Was it Eddie Murphy's donkey?
A donkey.
I'm a donkey.
Oh yeah, that's
damn it.
right. He was donkey.
Was that Eddie
wasn't
Murphy?
he? Yeah, he sure was. So that's looking back at the tauntaun and everything we love about the tauntaun.
Tonton will freeze before you reach the first marker.
Then I'll see you in hell.
Rebel Force Radio.
Tonton! Tonton!
From Kenner's Star Wars The Empire Strikes Back collection, it's Tauntaun.
My mission is urgent. Han Solo, help! Luke Skywalker's in danger.
Tauntaun's front and hind legs move.
Luke's okay. I found him. Our mission's complete.
Tauntaun from Star Wars The Empire Strikes Back collection. Action figures each sold separately. From Kenner.
I still think it's wild that Kenner produced an action figure, the Tauntaun, where you could actually open up its belly and shove another action figure in there to keep him warm. You know, it's really gross.
It's super gross, and it's just such that whole gimmick with the sliced up belly and they got it was I think it was one of the very first variants when you think about it. I mean, all they did was they took the original tauntaun that they released without. I never had the non-belly sliced tauntaun, but I mean, what a smart idea! You got the mold, you got everything ready to go. All you got to do is just slit the belly, put a little bit of rubber around it, and boom, you got yourself a brand new toy no one else has.
I used mine as a coin purse. So I would just go out and have to make a purchase, and I would just say, I reach my hand into the tauntaun and pull out money. And sometimes with a little bit of guts, just a little bit of guts.
Well, I was just going to say, I wished that they would have, when they made that tauntaun, because he was completely empty on the inside, I really wish they would have put some of that like Dagobah or trash compactor Kenner foam or something inside, just to simulate when you shoved Luke in there. I'm sure there's customizers out there that have done something like that, but
put some of that Nickelodeon slime in there and just get it really gross or ooze or whatever they called the slime. I don't remember. Whatever happened to slime? How come there's no slime anymore? Used to see slime everywhere. There's no slime anywhere. This is a travesty.
It was huge. Slime was so huge just not that long ago. But now, I don't know, it just seemed to have like run its course like a lot. But slime always comes back. Like slime started out in like the 60s and it came roaring back in the 80s. And then we saw this, and then with Nickelodeon. And then it came back with all this DIY slime because everybody was making slime on the internet. So it'll come back.
I had this underground slime lab in my basement, and we had a good thing going until we got shut down by the authorities. But it was, we were cooking. We were cooking the slime. We were cooking it. There was one Star Wars slime product that I can recall. It was the Jabba Glob, which was a fan favorite back in 1999. And that incorporated some real slime action. But where's the slime?
That was the very first time Star Wars embraced the slime. The slime was marketed really heavily with brands like Ghostbusters, in the ectoplasm, Ninja Turtles, and the ooze. So there were a lot of like big action. He-Man, there were all kinds of like, you torture He-Man, you pour the slime on him. Star Wars never got into that, even though like slime was really big at that point. Yeah. But there were no slimy moments. But that Jabba Glob with episode 1, that's one of the best toys ever.
That's
fantastic.
That's some good stuff. So we need to have some slime brought into Star Wars, and I want to talk about it. I'm not afraid to talk about it, I should say. And also, I'm hoping that people stop emailing me pictures of Star Wars Play-Doh, and we could shift the focus onto slime now and find something new. Because, I get it that there's still Star Wars Play-Doh out there, but it's not the same. It's just not the same.
It's definitely not the
When
same.
I say, where is the Star Wars Play-Doh? I want to know who's using it these days. Who's hitting the dough? That's what I need to know. So I understand it still exists. You put Star Wars on the Star Wars logo on anything, once, you'll do it 1,000,000 times. But it just doesn't seem to be part of the fabric of kiddom anymore. Play-Doh. I never see kids with Play-Doh anymore.
Very short phase for my kids with the Play-Doh. Very short phase. I remember getting the kids silly putty. I think I got that for them in their stocking one year. And that went over like a lead balloon because we don't get the newspaper. So there's no way to do that. And that's really like half the fun of silly putty is, it's pressing it on the comics and pulling it off. Otherwise, it's just lame slime. It's like not as cool slime.
Well, yeah, but you can make it into a ball and bounce it.
You can do that.
Something
That's
you can
true.
do with Play-Doh. I mean, so there's minutes of entertainment to be had right there.
Minutes. Yeah, I think the silly putty is up on the shelf with the Slinky and the Pet Rock.
Oh, that's a classic. That's like, the classic Hall of Fame toys right there. The real simple crap, that you get at the pharmacy or at the dime store or whatever.
Really the thing is when it comes to that entry level stuff, toy that gets you into fandom, whether it be Marvel or Star Wars or whatever, it's all about Lego. It's Lego dominates. It's the new slime because they even have like the Duplos and like some of the beginner kits and stuff. Those have been able to get sort of brand tie-ins, IP tie-ins. So Lego has just done an incredible job. It is one of the best, I think, comeback stories of all time as far as corporations and how they reinvented themselves and embraced tie-ins with all these properties and everything. And parents, like Play-Doh's a mess. Dude, Play-Doh matches into carpet and all this stuff. The only thing good about Play-Doh is your kid can eat it and it's okay. It doesn't really do it. I don't know about silly putty. Can you eat silly putty?
Probably, but I wouldn't.
Hey, Rich Brendel, I know he's a big listener of Rebel Force Radio. Rich, can you eat silly putty? We're putting the call out for you.
Yeah, we're not recommending it. We're not recommending anyone.
No. We're just asking the question.
It's that rubbery quality. I don't think that would really be digestible. So don't do it, Rich. Don't do it. It's too late. He's already done it.
Will digest in his belly for 1,000 years.
Spit it up. Spit it out. So
Rich is actually the Sarlacc pit for silly putty.
So I don't know. We need Mandalorian and Grogu slime, I think. I think that you can figure out some way to slime it up with those two guys.
Well, with
and
the
I think it would be a
frogs that
hit.
Mando or that Grogu loves, you could sell those little frogs and they could come in like a little thing of slime.
Slimy thing, And then, of course, the Lego tie-in will be there for Mandalorian and Grogu if those sets aren't already out there. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And Star Wars was the very first IP tie-in that Lego ever actually licensed, or Star Wars licensed
I believe that's
to
true.
Lego.
Yeah.
They were the very first IP. So you didn't have themed Lego sets until really prequel era, I think, is when that all started to happen. And it was a big deal back then. It's still a big deal now. I was driving on expressways surrounding downtown Chicago just this week, and I'm seeing those digital billboards flash up ads for the new Lego sets, which like have lights or something to them. I'm not really sure what they're all about.
Modded out now, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But specifically the Star Wars Legos.
Now, wait a minute.
So-
You're seeing billboards for Star
Yes.
Wars Lego.
Yes.
Are you seeing billboards for Mando and Grogu movie?
No, I am not.
Now, which is the... That's a case study in and of itself.
Not yet. Not yet. I will tell
Might be
you
too soon.
when I see them.
Okay.
Do you have a lot of those digital billboards in the Cleveland area? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So
pretty much
keep
they're
your
all,
eye.
all digital.
Keep
yeah.
your eye on that. We'll report to one another once we start seeing the advertising kick in. But I definitely have not seen any Mandalorian and Grogu billboards, nor have I. I mean, it's any movie advertising, I think, has been rather sparse on those particular billboards. I'm just not seeing it.
Yeah, no, I'm not either. When you go out, to California, you definitely see it a lot more.
Oh, yeah.
New York City, you definitely see more movie billboards and big takeovers of murals and paintings and more like street art and stuff like that. But yeah, I used to see billboards for films all the time, and it's just not a channel that they advertise on. I don't know. It's amazing what's happened to the way movies are marketed, or
I know.
the lack
everything
thereof of marketing.
I mean, I was just thinking that today because AMC has announced that they're only going to prioritize the seats in the center of the theater for A+ members and AMC Club members and all of this. And
You're kidding me.
I mean, they can't even fill up these movie theaters half full. Who's going to enforce that?
They're putting a premium on the
Yes.
center seats
Yeah.
in movie theaters.
Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
They go first to their A-list.
First.
Yeah. But I don't know. Yeah, I don't know how it works.
What the
out
window
if the
is.
theater
That is
doesn't-
fast. All right, I'll be researching that offline because that is fascinating. In the theater business, that's interesting.
Last year they were floating around the idea of charging, up charges for more desirable seats. But that was met with a lot of pushback because
I bet it was.
You're basically saying, hey, it's a real elitism by saying, okay, only the people who make a lot of money can sit in this part of the theater. Everyone else has to sit out by the bathroom. It's just like that's really.
We're we back to the 50s now? Is that?
Yeah. Well, it's
is
just
that how
kind
it's
of
working.
crazy.
More like the 1650s.
No,
Or
they
the
should be
kings
doing.
sat in the good seats.
Yeah, they're crying over, oh, people aren't going to movies anymore. Why aren't people going to movies anymore? It's like, well, let's just take a look at the concession stand first and foremost. Should I really be paying $20 for a bucket of popcorn? Should I really have paid $20 just to walk in here? How much is a soda? $10? God forbid I should want a cocktail. That's $15 to $20. It's just. People are staying away simply for the fact that they're just being outpriced. And movie theaters have been notorious for doing that forever. But, that's how they make their money is with concessions and things like that. So it's just everybody's getting screwed over by raw deals happening. So,
Yeah.
What shouldn't the movie theaters make a little bit more money for screening the films? Well, we make very minimal. It all goes to the studios. Well, I guess the studios are the ones who spent $500 million to make the movie, so they should get all the money. But, it's hard to. Sooner or later, we have to pay the price, and that's what we're paying.
It all trickles down to the consumer.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what it is. It could be tariffs. It could be premium charges and for VIP seating. All of that, whatever it is, eventually, even if you're not a member of whatever frequent movie buyer club it is, it's going to trickle down and it's going to hit all of us. So, I mean, I know they're scrambling and they're flailing and they are trying to find a way to increase revenue, but what they're doing is they're like, well, we're going to put the screws to the people who have stayed loyal to the movie theater going experience instead of trying to lure people back to the theater who gave up and stopped going. So make it a better experience, number one. And you can do that by trying to make it affordable. I mean, you take, I've said this many times, and you know very well, you have a family of 4 yourself. Take a family of 4 to see a movie. We just went to see SpongeBob, and it was over $100.
Yeah, sure.
Out the door, from between the tickets and the food. Yeah, and I can't even imagine. We had pretty nice seats, and we were probably we were 4 out of maybe 20 people in the theater, and we had nice seats. And I can't imagine having to pay a premium for that when there's all those empty seats around me. That's crazy.
They should roll back the prices to 2006 and just watch people fill those theaters and buy those concessions like crazy. I just, think it's just outpacing people's incomes to such a degree that it's now become impossible. And there are options. We have nice TVs with great sound systems and streaming services and Blu-ray players, and there's options, but just nothing beats going to the theater. And Star Wars just makes it magical. But you have to ask yourself, are you going to treat this like you have maybe traditionally treated Star Wars movies, where you go back to the theater multiple times to see the same movie? I definitely plan on seeing The Mandalorian and Grogu more than once, but
for sure,
I don't think I'll max out over 3 times when it's all said and done. But maybe I'll love it and just have to go back. But I'm not getting that vibe.
I was thinking 3. Obviously, we're going to see it at least one time together, and then maybe twice. We're going to try to sneak in a second one, and then I'm going to want to take the family, and that'll be my third. And I think after that, I'll just wait for Disney Plus.
Right.
For a rewatch.
That'll be in 3 months or whatever.
I agree. I don't think it's going to take very long.
But I was wondering myself, how many times am I going to go see this movie? Now, it is hard to make those predictions prior to seeing it, because, again, it could be something so great you have to see 500 times. But I don't know. I don't see myself going more than 3 times. Phantom Menace, probably 14 times. Because that was just that was like going to church, seeing the Phantom Menace. Phantom really Menace. I just called it the Fandom Menace. Remember those guys?
Oh, yeah.
They used to have a bunch of YouTube shows and stuff.
Those were the days. Yeah, the Phantom Menace. Yeah, I saw it a lot because I was working at a movie theater at that point, and so I could kind of see it whenever I wanted. It was pretty nice. And then they did that. You remember that first re-release they did? I want to say it came out in May, lasted pretty much all summer in the theater, and then it rolled back into theaters like in November.
Yeah, like around the holiday season.
Around the holidays, yeah. They pulled that, and because I think that was right before the home video release.
Yeah.
So
I was going over to the theater in my neighborhood just by myself, All right, this is the 13th time for me to see the Phantom Menace.
Yeah.
And I said, I swear to God, if that kid doesn't grow up to be James Earl Jones, I'm going to be pissed off. Nobody laughs. It's like, well, tough crowd. Of the 3 other nerds by themselves in the theater.
Phantom Menace was the first movie that ever got me into, buying the old illegal copies. Back then it was the VCDs, the video CDs from like Taiwan or something like that. I remember I ordered a couple of those, and then somebody showed me, downloading BitTorrents back in the day. And I was working at a radio, this was Attack of the Clones. Actually, was my first BitTorrent. Phantom Menace was my first VCD that I bought on eBay. Yeah. I was working at the radio station when Phantom Menace came out, Attack of the Clones came out, and I let that computer download that torrent file of Attack of the Clones for like 2 days.
Sure.
I'm sure the management wouldn't have been happy had they known, but I can say, I can talk about it now, obviously. But and then so I had this massive file, and it was terrible, terrible quality. It was some handy cam version of the film. But man, it was so great to be able to sit there and do my work in my little teeny cubbyhole of an office and have that movie looping and playing. I probably, pound for pound, I've probably seen Attack of the Clones more than any of the other prequels because of that,
is that right?
that bootleg
Really?
that I had. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I just had it playing all summer and fall, man.
Yeah, I had a similar sort of bootleg for that, and I'm the one I ended up getting for Revenge of the Sith, though. Everything was kind of scrunched, so when they were flying, you would really notice it when they were flying toward a planet like Mustafar, and Mustafar was egg shaped.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about.
Like, oh, rats, man. But it was get used to it, and then all of a sudden you get shocked out of the movie because Mustafar is the shape of an Easter egg, and you suddenly remembered that you are not watching an exactly legit version of the film. But I had to see it. There were questions I had about the movie, and I had to watch it.
Yeah.
Those saga films, it's just the importance that we put on them, it's like I said, it's like going to church. And I even was able to keep that energy going all the way through The Rise of Skywalker. I still had the kind of that kind of energy where it's like, oh, I have to see it. I have to figure this part out. So when they released the home video release of Episode 9, I was just as geeked out about that as I was about getting those old bootleg handy cam copies of the movies back then.
Yes.
So I'm hoping I have that same spirit for The Mandalorian and Grogu.
Yeah. Unfortunately, the whole, home video experience has been massively disrupted. Disney was on a roll with they released all 3 seasons of Mando, thankfully. They released the first season of Andor. They released the Kenobi series. But that was it. Like, we're still waiting on Book of Boba Fett, which I would love to own. I would love to. I really want season 2 of Andor. Drives me nuts that I don't have that on disc, And then with Kenobi, it's called the complete the complete series or the full series. But there have been so many rumors about a season 2 on that, and I still think it's going to happen because you've got a whole bunch of people that are, including Ewan McGregor, that are willing, very willing, and seem quite eager to do it. So, and I think they want to do it better. I think they know, and they've heard the fan reaction, and I think there's a part of them that they're like, we know we can do this better. So that could be it.
Do it like they used to. Lucasfilm, Star Wars home video releases were just masterpieces back in the day, and now they're just like whatever. We didn't even have an audio commentary track for Episode 9. In the
there's
past,
not an audio track on that.
There's
really?
Not. No audio track.
No director's commentary from JJ on that.
No. So
that's
which is
very
weird.
Interesting. I had never thought. I didn't even think to look at the disc for it. I just assumed there was one on there. That is weird. See, that tells me that he doesn't have much to say about that.
Well, he doesn't have anything to say about it. He just took a fat payday. Disney wanted him in there,
right? I mean, when you think about it, JJ hasn't said really much of anything about Star Wars or Star Trek since those projects came out. JJ's been relatively quiet. Last thing I know he was working on was he and his son. Was it a Spider-Man comic that they were? He's just trying to help out his son to get a writing gig, and I think it was Marvel. But I feel like that was the last thing. He's also tied. He's tied to that sort of reboot of the Batman animated series that they did on Amazon Prime, which is actually quite good.
Right.
Maybe I'm thinking
something.
Of that.
He's got something else going on though, so I don't know what it is, but he definitely has something. Conjuring, I think. The Great Beyond. What else is he working on? Conjuring First Communion. I guess that's a prequel to a film called Conjuring.
I think Rian Johnson has talked more about Star Wars in the aftermath of his film than JJ has.
Ryan, doesn't know how to STFU. That's the problem with Ryan, And, as long as we're throwing letters around this particular podcast, when Ryan speaks about Star Wars, IDGAF. So those are all the letters I have about RJ and his commentary about SW here on RFR with my good friend JS.
All right. Well, then let's talk about more RFR on Patreon.
Yes. All right. Patreon is the place you want to be for more Rebel Force Radio. If you can't get enough of this weekly podcast, there's plenty to look at and listen to at patreon.com/Rebel Force Radio. Bonus podcasts that you can't find anywhere else, like RFR Q&A. We have 2 new Q&As this week. RFR Q&A number 282, which is Thriller Thrawn. That's right, Thriller Thrawn. It's a discussion about Grand Admiral Thrawn with Thrawn superfan Guillermo, who joins me from Spokane, Washington, to discuss all things Thrawn, and we break down the entire Thrawn trilogy, from Heir to the Empire to The Last Command, as told in the comics adaptation. So we have a lot of fun doing that. Then Turtle Wars returns to the Q&A for RFR Q&A number 283. Star Wars Coke can craziness, where Turtle Wars, of course, he sent us some sets of Star Wars Coca-Cola cans when they were available last year. Well, Turtle is returning to the Q&A for the first time since he was out on the hunt for all of those Coke cans, and he tells us about how he tracked them down, where he found them. He got all of the cans that were available here in the good old USA, and then he went international. So Turtle Wars is he's such an interesting dude. He also recaps some of his adventures at RFR at Rancho Obi-Wan, along with a convention he went to and all of the cool Star Wars collectibles he scored at that convention. And of course, every week on RFR on Patreon, you can find full show video of this very podcast. It's the only place you can get the weekly RFR in video form. Sure, we do after shows live, and occasionally we pop onto YouTube here and there, but the only place to really see the full recording session of RFR is at RFR on Patreon, patreon.com/Rebel Force Radio and RFR All Access. So it's just a great time. It's a great community. And along with all the things I've talked about, you can also get early bird show releases that are totally ad-free. So if you're sick of hearing the commercials you hear on Rebel Force Radio, you can get the show without them very easily at patreon.com/Rebel Force Radio. And then, of course, you can just get your custom RSS feed, copy it, put it into your podcast player of choice, and you can listen to Rebel Force Radio just like you always have, whether it be on iTunes or Spotify or just about any podcast player. You can put the exclusive podcast content that we released on Patreon into that podcast player. So it's a great time. We want everyone there. You're supporting RFR, and you're making this show possible as long as you're supporting us on Patreon. So join the party at patreon.com/Rebel Force Radio. That's patreon.com/Rebel Force Radio.
You love Star Wars.
Rebel Force Radio.
I have good news for you, my lord.
That's good news. Come closer, I have good news.
All right, as we were talking a little bit earlier about these tauntauns and this big game spot, Variety has a piece, and this was what the social media headlines were, Jim. It says, some Disney staffers are concerned the unconventional 36-second Super Bowl spot for the Mandalorian and Grogu failed to spark excitement. And there's a sense that Sean Levy's Starfighter is more likely to satisfy Star Wars fans when it hits theaters next spring. Sources who've seen footage praise Ryan Gosling's performance and suggest Levy has recaptured the franchise's spirit of fun. So there's a whole cover story in Variety about Disney's next CEO succession, and the new CEO, basically the big shoes that he has to fill, the big task that lay ahead in kind of righting this ship. They have theme parks that aren't doing so great. They've got major IPs that have seen pretty significant downturns in box office and streaming numbers. And so there's a lot riding on the new CEO's reign and lots of pressure. But I was just shocked that the top headline, which is really just a summary of what's in this piece, was Disney staffers concerned that the unconventional 36-second Super Bowl spot for Mandalorian and Grogu failed to spark excitement. Now, this is the kind of headline, Jim, that you might hear. We were talking about some YouTubers, that always kind of tend to focus on the negative when it comes to Star Wars and Lucasfilm and Disney. But this is Variety. Variety is covering this as an industry story. We know they have a great, tight relationship with Lucasfilm, with Disney. Of course, they're going to have a great relationship because they want the access, and Disney wants the favorable coverage. But to say that these were Disney staffers, this is essentially Disney putting out a press release saying that they missed the mark, right?
You're not reading it. It's Disney store staffers are... No, I'm kidding. Jason actually leaned in to get a closer look at this.
What the hell are you talking about?
It says store. No, I think these anonymous staffers are just stating the obvious. We all felt it. We were told by Variety specifically that a Star Wars trailer was going to drive. It wasn't Lucasfilm who announced the trailer was coming. It was places like Variety and Hollywood Reporter who were saying that a Star Wars, a Mandalorian and Grogu trailer was going to drop during the Super Bowl. And instead we got a gimmicky ad with tauntauns pulling a sled, which is, as cool as that is, it's not the itch we needed scratched at that particular moment. Instead, a lot of people were left just scratching their heads going, what the hell did I just see? So I just think that natural response was felt among the hallways at the executive offices at Disney and maybe even at Lucasfilm itself.
The difference here to me, though, is we know that it's obvious, but sometimes, most of the time, when something's obvious, they don't admit it. Again, going back to the fact that Variety is going to, I think, always be very, very soft on companies like Disney and Lucasfilm. For them to lead with this tells me that Disney wants it out there. I think they want people to know that they're admitting that this was not the home run. This wasn't the touchdown. This wasn't the extra point, the field goal that they needed.
Well, I don't know then if they're doing that to sort of shake up Lucasfilm a little bit because they know they can kind of bully Lucasfilm. Maybe the parent company feels like Lucasfilm is a little easier to push around now that Kathy Kennedy is gone.
It does say Disney staffers, doesn't it? It doesn't say Lucasfilm staffers.
So it just makes you wonder if there's some of that going on here, where just some individuals at Disney were like some fans who host podcasts. They were a little confused and a little let down by the Super Bowl ad. Which, by the way, I do want to say is it stands on its own. It's just fine. I love it. It's great. There's tauntauns pulling a sled. You got Din. You got Grogu. Yippee! But it doesn't get me hyped up for the movie at all. It may raise a little bit of awareness, but isn't that what the Disney staffers are upset about? The awareness wasn't raised to a level that they feel is appropriate for a Star Wars film that's going to be hitting theaters in 3 months. They feel like there's no wave of hype or excitement, especially when you compare it to Star Wars' past. And of course, you can point at the Solo film and say, well, that was sort of a muted build-up for that release. But everybody was still dealing with the fallout of The Last Jedi at that point in time. You need to have breathing space between the release of these films, and that's something that Lucasfilm and the Disney parent company learned, was that you have to have space between Star Wars films to let it breathe. So you can't just pile them on top of each other. And also the Solo movie was flawed as hell, and it went through a terrible production, and they just didn't have the marketing muscle behind it like they have with traditional Star Wars films, because they basically shot the movie twice, was the case with Solo. Now, Mandalorian and Grogu, from what we understand, had a very smooth sail as far as the production goes. We haven't heard about any horror stories coming from the set or anybody
well, they didn't have any wild cards. This whole team has been working together since the Mandalorian, the series went into production how many years ago? So there were no, as far as I know, there was nothing to really upset the apple cart here. They just kind of, wash, rinse, and repeat sort of thing.
Yeah, right. It is a very risk-friendly kind of film.
Oh,
but
absolutely. I think that's why Iger insisted that that be the next movie. Right. It was the sure thing. And just I will say this, there's something that has kind of bugged me a little bit about some of the fans' reaction is, when Mando and Grogu was really killing it on Disney Plus, fans were like, why don't they do a movie? They got to do a movie. And then here comes the Mandalorian and Grogu movie, and you go, oh, well, yeah, of course they're going to do a Mando and Grogu movie. We want something new. I mean, come on, guys. Let's admit it a little bit. I think some of us can be, put Lucasfilm in a position, or Disney in a position, where they just can't win. You got to be somewhat consistent about this sort of thing. And I've seen that online, and it drives me nuts. All the people bitching about Mando and Grogu being this low-hanging fruit film now that is same old, are the same people that were saying that Disney was crazy to not do a Mando and Grogu film.
Maybe, but audiences are fickle, and Star Wars fans are very fickle. And I think when people were calling for a Mando and Grogu movie, that was following on the heels of the 2020 Season 2 season finale with Luke Skywalker showing up, and everybody was very excited. Everybody was very on board with The Mandalorian at that time. And I could just tell you from our podcast download numbers that people were really into it. And then 5 years go by. And during the course of those 5 years, Lucasfilm has messed with fans in a very big way by making a lot of announcements about films that never see the light of day, and just really working over the fan base to the point where I think that a lot of Star Wars fans have this inbred cynicism now, and they just can't shake it. It's not the health of the Star Wars fan base is in bad shape right now. So it's important. That's why they rushed Mandalorian and Grogu and fast-tracked that into a movie, is because they know that they have to get something out there. They can't let 10 years go by again between releases of Star Wars films. You just can't let
you're so right about the deterioration of the trust between the fans and the creative teams, and it's not. You're right to bring up. It's not just that the stuff that they did release maybe didn't quite land, wasn't quite exactly what we were hoping for, looking for. It's all those false starts and phony promises that really made us be like, wait. I think you've mentioned before, like, well, if you're not going to take this seriously, don't expect me to take it seriously. And those false starts and false promises definitely made it feel like that it was just, well, we're just going to humor the fans by giving them a couple of announcements and maybe some of this. I saw something online. Now, I don't know if this is true, but I saw something online recently that indicated that the Ben Solo film was the only, now this is going to be explicit in the language I'm going to use, was the only Star Wars film that was actually greenlit to be canceled. So what that says is they've been promoting and trotting out projects that were never greenlit. The only one that was greenlit that did not see the light of day was the Ben Solo, because the rug got pulled on that right towards the finish line where they were ready to go into pre-production. All they needed was for Iger to give the final thumbs up.
Now, see, it's the wording of that, and this is something that Steven Soderbergh said in an interview, where he said that was the only Star Wars project to get the green light to then be canceled.
Right.
Meaning that all the other ones to get canceled never had the green light.
Right.
But who's giving it the green light? Is it Lucasfilm or is it Disney? Well, in this case, it's Lucasfilm giving it the green light, but they still had to present it to Disney. So it never really was fully given the green light.
I guess they had an orange light.
Yeah, right.
It was the orange light.
It was definitely
stale yellow.
Cautionary.
Yeah.
Definitely cautionary. So I don't know how they could have let the film get developed as far as it did if they didn't have Disney on board and they knew it.
Or they were so confident that Disney was never going to say no to this thing because they had Soderbergh. You know, they
had Adam Driver.
Adam Driver. And that seems to be like, look, when you've got a creative like that, a director like that, and you've got the star ready to go and they're excited. Look at Ewan McGregor, as an example for Kenobi. Like, that seems to be the magical. Look at the Sean Levy and Ryan Gosling. You had a star, you had a director, you had a story. Let's go. So it seemed to be the formula that was going to work, but they just couldn't get their heads around how the character was still alive in a fantasy film.
Yeah, right. And but these are the people who brought us the Star Wars sequel trilogy. What difference does it make? If you don't have it figured out, who cares? You guys released 3 films over the course of 6 years that didn't have it figured out at all. So don't give me this. No, it's over the course of 4 years, right? You had the one in 15, you had the one in 17, and then you had the one
Oh, no, you're right.
19.
Yeah, 4 years.
Yeah, well, 5, 6 years, whatever.
Yeah.
5 years. But these are the guys who it seemed like plot holes were their best friends. So why are they all of a sudden concerned? And what does Bob Iger care anyway? He's got a foot out the door to begin with. Yeah, sure, go ahead, fire it up. I'm out of here. But I don't understand. And with new people coming in to Disney, they obviously are going to have to give this a second look because of so much work that has been put into it. They have to give it a second.
We've seen this happen. You had the Snyder cut for the Justice League movie. You had Ryan Reynolds out there for how long petitioning and for Deadpool before Deadpool became its own franchise, where the fans were getting excited. You had I think it was Ronald D. Moore that was schlepping around a homemade trailer he made for that Battlestar Galactica show to conventions to get fans excited. So this is you're right that this isn't necessarily the end of the road, but you got to line up Adam Driver. You got to line up Soderbergh. You got to get in line with things that are already in production at Lucasfilm. So, but it's definitely possible.
Why did they kill Ben? Why did they kill Luke? I mean, these are characters, these are actors, that are still very viable, and you could have easily built the future having those characters as veterans of the Star Wars, and especially Luke Skywalker. My God, you could have done so many movies with him as that Obi-Wan Kenobi type. And what would he strip away from new characters? Nothing at all. You just got to make it work. You have to have synergy.
They were so intimidated.
Ridiculous.
The stories of them. Every time I put Luke Skywalker's name on the page, he just took all the attention away. Well, you know what? Work harder. Get someone better that can do it.
He takes the attention away because the character earned that. You're intimidated by having to create characters that will earn our attention, is basically what you're saying.
Yeah. Yes. I remember a story about when they were finally going to make a movie where the next generation crew of Star Trek met the original generation crew, and there was a pitch meeting, and someone put up some concept art of the classic Enterprise and the next gen Enterprise firing on each other. Yeah. And it was like you were going to see the two crews. And they hired some writers, and the writers just waved the white flag. Oh, I can't do it. There's no way to write this story to where the audience cares for both crews. Someone has to be the bad guy. And I remember reading that, and I was like, well, just find better writers. It's a great idea. And there's absolutely a way that it could be done where you care about both. So when these writers cry and whine about how they can't do something, that's fine. Okay, you can't do it. That doesn't mean it can't be done. So don't tell me that you can't have these new characters being established without being completely overshadowed by the legacy characters. Write better characters.
That's all you got to do. But you're right, there is an intimidation factor there. So, and it's a bummer. So, that's what people at Disney are saying, that they're fearful. But see, what I don't understand is that they're talking about the Super Bowl ad, not exactly connecting with audiences nor creating the hype that they wanted. But they're comparing that then to Starfighter. So they think the Super Bowl ad is purely representative of the type of quality of film we're going to be seeing in The Mandalorian and Grogu. And they're comparing that fear then to Starfighter, which they think is going to be a grand slam. Ryan Gosling's acting is spectacular and it'll make you cry. So I don't, and it captures the excitement of old Star Wars and stuff. I don't know. I don't know what they're comparing here. Are they comparing the Mandalorian and Grogu film or the Super Bowl ad?
That's a great observation. Because it says right here, there's a sense Sean Levy's Starfighter is more likely to satisfy fans when it hits theaters next spring. Yeah, more likely than what? Than the 36-second teaser? That's essentially what that was. Parody, gimmick, bit, comedy. It was not a trailer. Or are they talking about the film? I think they're talking about the film. I think they're saying in this variety piece that there is a sense within Disney, because this is a big cover story on tomorrow, the new CEO, and they're saying that there's a sense that within Disney. So is Disney trying to tank this Mando Grogu film?
Yeah.
Or do they think it's a turkey? And they're going to try to create separation?
Yeah, it seems like whoever these anonymous Disney staffers are, they're definitely Team Starfighter, and they don't think Mandalorian and Grogu is necessarily even worthy of being a film, or it's just not going to connect. They're already preparing themselves for box office failure. This could just be some disgruntled low-level nobodies popping off to a buddy who happens to have another buddy who works for Variety. But I don't know. It doesn't paint a pretty picture for sure. And like I said, though, it also just merely echoes a lot of the feedback we've been providing to Disney about the Super Bowl ad and how maybe it really wasn't strategically the wise move to make. And it's almost understandable that it doesn't fire up just general population hype for the film. It almost seems like,
Now there is one
knew
detail.
that on Super Bowl Sunday.
There is one detail about this piece in Variety, which is written by Brent Lang and Ethan Schanfeld, that even though this is a cover piece about Josh D'Amaro, Josh refused to be interviewed for this article. So they're using a lot of quotes from Josh that were from other sources like ABC News. So maybe Josh found out that part of this story was wanting him to respond to what these writers are hearing from their sources within Disney about this movie, and Josh isn't going anywhere near this. So
no way.
Without Josh, and as you say, Jim, these are unidentified sources, which anonymous sources, I get why you got them, but at the same time, how much weight can you give to them? The old expression, take it with a grain of salt. Maybe you got to take it with a grain of salt here. It could be that, like you say, they're just disgruntled, or I don't know, maybe they were trying to work on the Mando Grogu film and they were told to, this is a Favreau Filoni joint and get the hell out of here. I don't know. Maybe they have an axe to grind.
Yeah. You never know. I mean, it's just it's people with ambition working in a corporate environment. Occasionally backstabbing will happen. So, and the thing with Josh D'Amaro not making a quote for this story, you're right. I mean, this is like playing with fire. And here's a guy who's still getting accustomed to his new position. He's trying to figure out which stall in the executive bathroom is his favorite. He doesn't have time to be putting more fuel on this kind of fire. This is ridiculous. I'm really interested in what our audience has to think. And we did take some calls at the end of our live after show, our trailer review after show. But before we had decided that we were going to go on live, I suggested to our Patreon audience, hey, fill up our voicemail inbox with your thoughts about the trailer. And I'd hate to let all of this interesting opinion and observations and listener feedback go to waste. So let's go through some of these voicemails.
Let's do it.
And hear what you guys had to think and had to say about the Mandalorian and Grogu trailer. We'll start with Cody.
Hey, Chut. This is Cody from Los Angeles. I was calling about the Mando and Grogu trailer. I liked a lot of it. I think it hit some of these things I was hoping for, which is epic scale. We can see the Empire remnants and also the rebels. But the major concern I have about this show is I feel like I am sort of past the dynamic of Mando and Grogu. Like, I feel the TV show Mandalorian did a good job of fleshing that out, showing how cute they were together. Look, Grogu is being annoying and messing with the controls, and Mando kind of slaps him away. But I feel like we've been there and we've done it, and I'm a little worried they're just going to rehash that dynamic as the main central part of this show, and that's sort of what I'm worried about. Anyway, thanks.
Well, Cody, obviously you didn't grow up in the 1980s with sitcoms, and the number one rule of family sitcoms is that once the kids grow up, they're no longer cute, it's no longer funny, and they got to get another cute kid, a younger kid. So the brilliance of Grogu, and I think one of the reasons why they made him Yoda's species is because he can stay little and cute for a real long time. So that's baked into the cake, I think, here. So, Jim, how do you evolve the relationship between the two and how they interact? Now, there are shades of this in the trailer. They're showing him with his armor. They're showing him being, a little daredevil. He jumps in the pram and he takes off and he's headstrong and all this. So I think that there is going to be some of that. But how far can they take it when he ages so slowly? Like I said, I think that's just baked into the cake. We better get used to it.
Right. He is Baby Yoda. Sweet, sweet Baby Yoda for now and forever. And I've been saying that since 2019. And that ain't going to change. But Cody does have a very important point that he's making. I think a lot of the freshness of the appeal of Grogu has faded away because people are now used to him. And he gets taken for granted. The way the character works the best is if you take the same approach that Star Wars storytelling has always taken with R2-D2. R2 is always there. He doesn't communicate in any sort of verbal language we understand, but he's always there. And he really makes his presence known when the you-know-what is hitting the fan, and he always saves the day. And that's the way you got to use Grogu in this show. And in this movie is he saves the day. But you don't get so overwhelmed with him all the time. But he's there when you need him. And he'll use some sort of force ability to get that mud horn and levitate that sucker off the ground so it doesn't kill Din Djarin. And then he takes a little nappy poo.
The baby hand thing.
Yeah, do the hand thing. So Carl Weathers, R.I.P. So that's just the way I think that Grogu is the most effective, is essentially he is the R2-D2 of this upcoming film. And he'll be there to save the day and provide occasional comic relief like R2-D2 does. So, there's a little sass.
Man, Grogu and R2-D2. I had not thought of that. That's a really good comparison. Here's the difference, though, was that you had Luke, Leia, and Han and these other characters that you could really focus on. And so R2 could be this really well-timed and placed supporting character. And R2-D2 wasn't in the title of the movie. So can Grogu be that supporting player that you're talking about and still be the star or the co-star? That's tough.
Well, yeah, I mean, sure. Good supporting cast, though. You have Din Djarin. And you have Cara Dune. No. You have... Somebody was mad at me for the wrap-up of the after show, the trailer review after show, because I said Newt Gunray, not in this trailer. And they wanted me to say Cara Dune, not in this trailer. And I just... My muscle memory went...
Cara Dune hasn't been in Mando since season 2, so it's been a long time.
Gunray's never been in Mando, so
true. Too true.
We're between a rock and a hard place here, Swank.
No, but did you see that that Cara Dune's taking on Ronda Rousey in a big MMA stunt fight?
Yeah. It's a stunt fight for sure.
Right.
But I think both
Surprised
of them...
one of the Paul brothers isn't involved in this one.
Right. But I think, both of them will match up pretty well in the ring, and I think they'll both take it seriously, and I think they both will exhibit some physical skill. Like, they still have gas in the tank, those two ladies. I think they'll both be looking at it as a big opportunity to really reestablish themselves in the place where they established themselves, as far as the public eye goes, for the first time. So they want to do it again. I think there might be that fight might be really good. Unlike Mike Tyson and Jake Paul, it was ridiculous. And it was just ridiculous. I mean, those guys weren't trying at all. They were just strictly there for the payday. I think Rousey and Carano will have something to prove. And I think they will provide a pretty entertaining and decent fight. I think they will match up against each other really well, and I'm interested in watching it. Is it going to be on Netflix?
I think it is on Netflix. Yeah, I think so.
I'm not a big
they
MMA
seem to be the ones
fan.
paying the big money for the fights.
I prefer pro boxing my whole life. I've never really been a big MMA fan, but I'll definitely be watching this fight. No question about it. I'll be watching this one. And, just to see Cara Dune get her ass kicked. So, or do an ass kicking. I don't rule that out either.
All right, look. There's only one return, okay? And it ain't of the king, it's of the Jedi.
Rebel Force Radio.
We have on the RFR voicemail hotline Chase.
Jason, Jimmy, this is Chase from California. What were my thoughts on the Mandalorian and Grogu trailer? The first thought that came to my mind was that was fun. That looked really fun and cool. Does it look like it has the same depth as season 1 and 2 of The Mandalorian? I don't know. I hope so. I'm rewatching it with my 5-year-old son, and I'm just constantly reminded every episode how good the storytelling was in season 1 and 2, and how so much was said without really saying a lot of dialogue. So good. But, the movie, I'll be there. It looks fun. I'm excited to take my 5-year-old. My wife's excited because you get to see Pedro Pascal's face. So I think either way, it'll be a fun time, but I'm hoping it's that same quality as season 1 and 2. Love you guys. Think you guys are the best. And chet.
I feel like somewhere, Jim, that we've talked about Jon Favreau making comments. He doesn't come right out and say that this is, we're trying to recapture season 1 and 2. But I feel like he's made comments in the past that alludes to they're trying to sort of bring the Mandalorian back to what fans initially really loved when the character came on the scene.
Yeah, focusing more on him as opposed to his cult's obsession with reclaiming their disaster of a planet. Who would want to still live there? That's what I've always been wondering.
He turned to glass, man. I mean, it's Star Wars. Hop in a ship and go find. Some of those planets that Mando was hanging out look pretty damn nice to me.
Definitely. I would always
Even
go to
Navarro.
Scarif. I like Scarif, if you want that
Scarif is
tropical
nice.
vibe, you go hit the beach. Yeah, hit the beach. You just got to look out for stormtroopers, but I mean, there's got to be other beaches, right? So,
Sure.
And resorts. There have to be resorts. So, yeah, I would go there. Maybe
that's
an
a good
all-inclusive
Yoda questionnaire question. I think we'd have to. He's probably not up right now. He goes to bed early, Yoda. But a question about if you had to live on any Star Wars planet or system, what would it be?
I like that. But don't fax it to him now, because you will wake him up.
Yeah, I know.
And
He's not. Yeah, he's grumpy.
That fax machine. Last time I was at Yoda's, that fax machine of his was making a racket. So it's, what do you want with Dagobah technology? I mean,
right,
really.
Of course.
I mean,
I'll wait till tomorrow.
Definitely.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one.
He does get pissed. So that was a good question from Chase. And I'm glad Chase is getting the opportunity to take his 5-year-old to a Star Wars movie.
Oh, perfect age.
That's and I think the Mandalorian and Grogu will provide some good entertainment for a 5-year-old. I hope it has that family appeal where everyone from grandpa to 5-year-old kid all get something out of the film, because the original Star Wars did that. And I remember going to see that with my brother, who was like 6. He was maybe 5. Billy Mack. This is long before he was doing Puppet Lando voices and the things that Billy Mack is famous for. But he was being thrilled by Star Wars, and I was there with my dad, who loved it. So think
about though. Imagine, Jim, because you had the benefit of seeing these films play out chronologically, as kids. Now, if you are Chase's son, you're 5, maybe you'll be 6 when the movie comes out, and you see The Mandalorian and Grogu and he loves it, and then a year later, he's going to go see, maybe a year later, he sees Episode 4, A New Hope, in the original theatrical version. And then a few months after that, Whiplash, he's now in Starfighter. They're not telling a story anymore like they were.
Don't get me started, Swank.
I know.
Don't get me started.
I'll get you wound up because I think they, just like they take the whole Dave Prowse leaking the Darth Vader father angle to the press back in the day, and that has just made them this uber secretive company when it comes to their stuff, more secretive than anybody else in Hollywood, in my opinion, to the point of ridiculousness. They've taken that so far. I think they take this excuse that, well, George hopped around. George did 4, 5, and 6, and then he did 1, 2, 3, and then he was writing 7, 8, 9. Yeah, but he wrote 4, 5, and 6 together. 4, 5, 6. We were living that story out for almost a decade.
Yes, Star Wars had distinct eras in which it was very focused on telling a single story within those eras. You had the original trilogy era, which went from 1977 to 1983. Then you had the prequel era, which went from 1999 all the way up to when Disney finally purchased the IP in 2012, because you had the 3 films and then you had the Clone Wars, and the merchandising surrounding Star Wars was very prequel focused. However, they did keep original trilogy memories alive through comic books and novels and collectibles, but it was heavily focused on the prequels. You knew that was the era that was being prioritized at that time, and you could follow along with the stories that made it up. Then after George sold the company to Disney, they were very original trilogy focused, and they wanted the sequel trilogy to have original trilogy vibes but stand on its own as its own thing. So you're taking the past and you're really trying to bring it to the future, and you're essentially ignoring the prequels at that time. The prequels didn't start sneaking back up into the public attention until you had the Clone Wars return in 2019. Or 2020, I'm sorry, 2020. So for all that time, then the prequels were being ignored. Ever since 2020, Star Wars has been all over the road, all over the map. It's been there is no consistency from story to story, nothing to latch on to, nothing to look forward to, no cliffhanger moments. No, even the one, like the Acolyte is the only thing they gave us that could actually have life beyond the series, but they made it very clear that there wasn't going to be a season 2. So it feels like Acolyte season 1 was nothing more than just a big waste of time. When you get, the bottom line of it is it was a waste of time. So what era are we in now? I spoke to, I think it was the New York Post back on May 4th last year, and they asked me about the state of Star Wars, and I said Star Wars is having an identity crisis. It doesn't know which era it wants to exist in. It doesn't know who the audience is. It doesn't know what the story is that they want to tell, and there's no cohesiveness between the end of one season going into the next series, whatever that's going to be. I mean, look at how we've hopscotched all around, from the Acolyte to the Mandalorian to the Skeleton Crew to Andor, all vastly different eras and all vastly different stories being told. And Ahsoka, you throw that into the mix, the general audience is confused, and they can't get
I think it's blown a lot of people out.
Well, they can't get hyped up for the Mandalorian and Grogu because they don't know what Star Wars is anymore. And Star Wars used to be an investment, and people would invest their time and their passion into it. And you can't do that with this herky-jerky business that's going on. Again, not talking about us hardcores. We can take it, you know. We're ready for it. You could throw all the Star Wars in the world you want at us, but I as hardcore as I am, I would prefer a less is more approach, as long as they follow a singular story. Like, I think they should do one streaming series just called Star Wars, and it's a very specific moment on the timeline, and it carries over from season to season, multi-seasons. Make it a 5-season type of thing, and have the stories connect. Don't just like, okay, well, this season we're going to jump back 100 years and deal with entirely different characters. No, none of that garbage. Tell a story like the Game of Thrones originally did, where people were so invested in those characters and situations. Yeah,
One
you want to talk about why fans
shows. You know, they talk about water
cooler shows. Look at Stranger Things is a perfect example.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Where it was the same mythology being. You saw the mythology build, evolve, and then conclude. And we need that with Star Wars once again. We do not have that. We're not even close. The Mandalorian was starting to build up a little momentum in that direction.
Yeah.
But then it started to get buried in pre-existing lore, which was a huge mistake. Once you start bringing in elements from the Clone Wars and Star Wars Rebels and the Mandalorians and the fight for the planet, you're losing people, pal, and you're losing them fast. So I need to see more cohesive storytelling and a commitment from Lucasfilm to a particular era and stick with it for 5 to 10 years.
I think otherwise it looks flaky.
Yeah.
Like they're not committed.
Flaky is a great word to use. Jumping all over the place.
Yeah.
It is flaky. So people are looking forward to the Mandalorian and Grogu. Obviously, we're not peeing in anyone's pool. Jason and myself, we're looking forward to it. We want you guys all to join us in Cleveland on the 23rd of May for the after show. And I think Fletcher is looking forward to it, too. He left us a message on the RFR voicemail hotline.
Hey, Jason and Jimmy. This is Fletcher from Maryland, Patreon member, and I just watched the Mando and Grogu trailer, and just wanted to quickly share my thoughts. I have to admit, I'm still a little bit nervous after seeing that trailer. I can't help but shake that Super Bowl commercial, and I think it's tainted my view of this trailer a little bit, particularly because I don't believe that Lucasfilm's marketing team is dumb. I think they do everything for a reason, and when you slap a short little parody commercial, building it up as a trailer, what you're telling me is don't take our movie too seriously. And I couldn't help but watch the entire trailer with that mindset and starting to come to the conclusion that they're kind of seem to be telling us that we're throwing this movie out because Iger put a gun to our heads and we have to get something put out there, and don't think about this movie like our usual big smash hits. And that still leaves me a little bit nervous. I'm curious if the commercial from the Super Bowl tainted your all's view or anyone else's view going into this trailer. Looking forward to hearing what y'all have to say. And quick plug, if you're listening and you're not a Patreon member, go ahead and join. Even if you're not digging what's on the screen for Star Wars, there's always great Star Wars content on Patreon. It is guaranteed to add years of enjoyment to your Star Wars content. Thanks, guys. I look forward to hearing what you have to say.
Hey, can we give Fletcher a free month of Patreon for that plug? That was a great plug. That was awesome.
Let me look into that, Jason. Jason, I just looked into that, and the answer is no.
Okay, all right. Well,
but I do appreciate Fletcher.
Yeah,
I thought
it was
Fletcher
great.
was calling from his office at the Disney Executive Building. But then he plugged the Patreon, RFR Patreon, so I knew he wasn't with Disney. But you know, he echoes a lot of things we talked about on the after show for sure.
Yeah, as far as did the Super Bowl spot, did it in some way change or alter how I might have felt about the trailer once we did see it? I absolutely not. It really didn't. I see them as two completely separate things. I had put that behind me. Now we had the trailer. Let's watch the trailer, see what that's about. And my thoughts about the trailer, which I shared last week, still stand. I thought it was fun. It looked exciting. It looked like Mando Grogu. I do think that in the year 2026, between all the big event films from Star Wars and Marvel and all the other big franchises out there, audiences are getting harder and harder to surprise, harder and harder to impress. The bar between what's on television and what's in films, it's starting to sort of average out. So I'm sympathetic to these folks that work so hard to create these projects that take years of their lives. And I think that it's an uphill battle to try to surprise us all the time or show us something new. That's not always my expectation. My expectation is more about how does it make me feel? And what the word that we've been using so much on this show is excitement. Do I feel excited, like I can't wait to see this thing? Not to that level, not to that level. Yes, I'm excited because I love what a new Star Wars film or TV show means for us here at Rebel Force Radio and getting to hang with our listeners and doing all this fun analysis and commentary. But as a fan, am I like dying to see what happens next? No, because they didn't give me anything at the end of the last Mandalorian season to make me just chomping at the bit to see this next adventure. So it's more of a passive excitement than a, oh my God, I got butterflies in my stomach. I can't wait because I'm dying to know what happens next. They haven't done that, make me super excited to find out what happens next in a while. I mean, the Andor as a series from episode to episode sure did, especially that first season. I couldn't wait for the next episode the following week. But then we had so much Andor with season 2. So I want that. I want them to set me up and get me excited and make me wait a little bit so that I'm dying to get to the theater.
Yeah. I hear you. And also I've been considering, like, how does the rise of technology affect the way that we look at things like fantasy movies and special effects heavy productions like The Mandalorian and Grogu? When nowadays, if a guy wants to see 4 tauntauns pulling a sled holding Din Djarin and Grogu, he might be able to create that on his home computer with a few prompts in a GPT type thing. I don't know. AI can provide you with anything you want to see. It just diminishes all appreciation for the artistry of special effects, visual special effects, and the magic that these wizards have provided us over the decades. Sure, people like you and me, guys who grew up in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, those are the special effects that we were always seeing in film. They were being handcrafted by special effects masters. Then in the late 90s to early 2000s, you saw the rise of computer-generated imagery, and you started to say to yourself, there's nothing you can think of that can't be created now via special effects, thanks to computers. But there were still human beings working those computers, and now the computers themselves have cut out the middleman, and they can create mind-blowing special effects, and there's no artistry to it whatsoever. There's no practicality to it, and there's no humanity to it. So I wonder if that's going to affect the way audiences look at special effects laden films now. it's like we already know too much about how the magic gets made, so much so that we have the magic at our fingertips now. And we can create any image we want to see. We can create any visuals. And it's going to be more and more readily available.
You're so right. You're so right that, yes, we can create all of these visuals. We can create anything we want to see. I think where the difference can be made and where human beings are always going to be necessary is I don't think computers will ever be as good at telling stories. And that's where the value is going to be added by the human beings. I think that as we get numb to these incredible visuals and they just become like, no big deal anymore, you have to tell great stories and get amazing performances by actors. Because I see, I'm more tolerant, Jim, than you are when it comes to the AI stuff. In that I see a lot of it, I humor it, I watch it, but I will tell you, as impressive as it is at times, there is a soullessness to it. There absolutely is a soullessness to it, because no matter. And I know that people say, well, and I'm fond of saying too, like, today is the worst it's ever going to look, folks. It's only going to look better tomorrow and the next day and the next day. But when it comes to actors and performances, you have to have great actors, great lines that are written by great writers. I don't think computers are ever going to get there. I think they'll make the process of making movies easier, maybe more cost effective, but you're still going to need great actors and great storytellers. And maybe that'll actually help. Maybe they'll have to pay the writers more than they did the special effects folks, because that is now so more affordable, and it will give the writers a lot more money and attention than the special effects folks. I don't know. I'm not saying that's a good thing. I'm just talking out, thinking out loud here, that it's always going to come down to humanity being expressed by human beings through actors and storytellers and writers.
You go to see a Jurassic Park movie, and about 20 minutes of credits are dedicated to all of the different production houses all over the world that contributed to the digital artistry of that film. In the future, I predict in 10 years, when you get to the credits for special, it'll just say special effects, AI Bob, and that'll be it. It'll be the greatest special effects you ever saw.
Yeah.
So I just wonder if then, the magic is going to be just completely sucked out of the room. And you'll never be saying to yourself, well, how did they do that? You'll never say that
because everything is possible. I mean, wait till we get to the point where I don't think we'll live to see it, but where you do have something like the holodeck, and you don't need movies. You just go in, you walk into a room, and it becomes any environment you want. You're in the movie. It's going to change. I mean, look at what Disney's trying to do with licensing their IP to AI. See, I think we're still in, when it comes to AI, I think we're still in the Napster era of it. I think we're still into the Wild West. And there's going to be, someone is going to come around and disrupt it, just like Apple did with MP3s and iTunes and all of that. And they're going to create order out of all this chaos. I think it's going to, I don't know if it's going to be Disney. I don't know who it is, but I think someone is going to bring order to this Wild West, anything goes, with the AI. They just have to. And it's been done before.
Well, those are our predictions for the future. Maybe you have predictions for the future. Maybe someone like Old Ben Ken, who left us this message on the RFR voicemail hotline.
Cho, Jason and Jimmy, this is Old Ben Ken from California, and just calling in about the Mandalorian trailer. I think it looks super exciting. The feedback I've seen online has been really positive, actually. comments and stuff I've seen have been saying, like, why wasn't this the first trailer? You know, the first trailer got tons and tons of flack for, like, not looking very interesting or exciting. But this trailer I think it'll put plenty of people back in the theater. I think this film might still struggle, even if it is incredible. But I think this new trailer has put some more hope and clarifying what this movie actually is. And it seems like the fan response is pretty high. Still super disappointing they didn't put this in the Super Bowl to get more people interested and excited about this movie. But yeah, super excited. It was cool to see in the kind of gladiator arena that it's essentially just a giant dejeric table, which is super cool to see. But yeah, excited. And RFR number 1, and I'll be there day 1, just like you guys.
Yeah, it's funny how all the things that we're talking about with respect to Mando and Grogu, which I was saying it's easy to say Mandu and Grogu, or because we've shortened Mandalorian to Mando. We got Mando and Grogu, and we've talked on our own Jedi Council about the need or the desire for us to see something new, and all we're talking about are like tauntauns and dejeric tables and icy planets and things and AT-AT like things. And yeah, you definitely want that. There's no question. You need those things to put you in Star Wars. But it would be nice for them, and I hope the film does this at times, is to challenge us a little bit, stick us in a new environment, let us see something that we've never seen before. And I know I've shared this many, many times, this little story, but I think it's really important. When you and I were at Star Wars Celebration Chicago and they were doing the big anniversary panel for The Phantom Menace, and they were showing these incredible clips on this beautiful giant screen, and we just, looked at each other and we were like, they don't make movies like this anymore. And it's true. And George, even though we didn't always know when the prequels were coming out, a lot of us didn't know what he was really up to, what he was trying to do. But man, was he pushing us and showing us he had an aversion to doing the same thing over again. Sometimes to our frustration, where we're like, George, you didn't tie up those loose ends, in the prequels that you started in the sequels and Force Ghosts and all this stuff. And I think that George was just always pushing us forward. And I really wish that modern Star Wars was doing more of that. Not that I don't like the member berries and all that, but I wish they were doing more of pushing us forward. I'm dying to know what comes after this movie, meaning like at the end, is there going to be some sort of a cliffhanger? Will it lead us into, is it going to set something up? I know there's a lot of speculation. We've talked about it here, about it setting up Ahsoka season 2, possibly. I think that's a mistake. I hope it doesn't, to be honest.
I mean, this obviously takes place prior to Ahsoka season 2 because the what's his name? Tava Carson or Carson Tava? I
Carson Tava, yeah.
But I believe he's in this film. He's going to be in The Mandalorian and Grogu.
There's a Lego minifig of him, I think, that has been revealed.
And he's also in Ahsoka season 1.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know. I don't know why I suddenly thought it would be impossible for that to happen after.
Well, if it's after,
I think The Mandalorian and Grogu happens prior to the events of Ahsoka season 1.
I think it has to, because I think some serious sugar is going to hit the fan in Ahsoka season 2 in terms of the galaxy with this sort of second war with Thrawn. And if this was coming after it, that wouldn't make any sense, because I'm sure there's got to be ramifications for what we're going to see in Ahsoka season 2.
Yeah, interesting to see how they're going to skate around that. And yeah, I don't want to. I think they should skate around that. I don't want to see any tie-ins with Ahsoka in this show. I just don't.
Yeah,
so
I agree. I think it needs to do its own thing.
Maybe the Maul show can feature some sort of tie into Ahsoka season 2. in some weird way, you know? Oh, look, that was set up decades before Ahsoka found it or whatever, you know? But Ahsoka, it's the Maul Shadow Lord series it's all Ahsoka's fault, essentially, because I did rewatch all of the Maul episodes on Clone Wars, especially the Siege of Mandalore, the finale of the Clone Wars. And what happens is that I needed my memory refreshed on all of this, but it's as simple as this. The New Republic, or the Old Republic. See, the schizophrenia of the identity crisis. I don't know what era I'm in half the time. But the Republic captures Darth Maul, and they have him. He's not going anywhere. He's been jailed. And Order 66 goes down. And Captain Rex orders the clone troopers to go kill Maul. And he deals with Ahsoka. Ahsoka gets to Rex, you know, and she then, I can't remember if she actually, I don't think she kills the clone troopers that have been dispatched to go kill Maul, but she definitely takes them out of the picture somehow. And she lets Maul free. So Maul can cause a distraction on board the ship they're on and keep all of the clone troopers away from her who are looking to kill her because of Order 66. So then Maul escapes in a shuttle, and he's out of there, leaving Ahsoka behind in a ship that's crashing onto a planet with all of these clone troopers who want to kill her. It's all her fault that there's going to be a Maul Shadow Lord series to begin with. So I think it needs to have some Ahsoka accountability in it somewhere. But that's how Maul gets away. Ahsoka lets him loose so he can wreak havoc on this ship and cause a distraction so she can find a way to escape. Maul escapes, she doesn't. Well, she does, but I mean, it's...
Right.
There's a lot of crap, a lot of, as you say, sugar that hits the fan. And so I'd almost like to see Ahsoka show up in the Maul series. And,
I could see that. I wouldn't mind
having
that,
and having some seed planted then for Ahsoka season 2 in the Maul series.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah,
I mean, it's all Filoni, so I don't. The Maul series, Filoni's an executive producer on, but the showrunner is Matt Micknovitz, who is the same guy who ran The Bad Batch, and
very well too, I might say.
Did a great job.
Did phenomenal job. So I was delighted to see his name attached to this. And as far as Filoni, I would imagine that he's keeping an eye, at least in terms of the story. And part of his job is making sure these stories all align and work together. So, and, you know, when it comes to this animation style, I mean, this is Dave's baby. And I would have to imagine that he's giving this a reasonable amount of attention. I'm sure he's not writing anything for it, but I would imagine that he's very close with Sam Witwer. And, you know, Sam was promised Rebels back in the day, and that didn't happen. That didn't quite pan out for Sam. So this is Sam's payday with this Maul series. And this is something I think he and Filoni have been talking about on and off for a long, long time.
Agreed.
So.
And yeah, for those of you who don't know, just real briefly, the role of Kanan Jarrus, at least when it was in its like embryonic stage, was considered to be a role that Sam was going to play in Star Wars Rebels. But then they brought in Freddie Prinze Jr. and Sam didn't get the show. Luckily for Sam, he didn't burn any bridges or anything, and they kept him around for more Star Wars stuff. Now he finally gets his turn at bat, and he's going to be the main guy in this upcoming animated series. But yeah, internally at Lucasfilm, they were referring to Star Wars Rebels as the Sam Show. And,
yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. Then it became the Freddie Show real fast. So, wait, who's available? Who? Freddie Prinze Jr. Wow, maybe we could work out a package deal and get his wife in too. I mean, wouldn't that be cool to have Buffy the Vampire Slayer voicing a character in Star Wars? Well, they did all that.
They sure did.
And Sam was cool about it all and didn't burn the bridges. And
very smart.
He's back. So we'll hear. we have interview highlights from Sam. We'll get to those next week. We'll talk much more about Maul Shadow Lord next week. But I just want to get through these voicemails we have about the Mandalorian and Grogu trailer. And here's Brian. He has a lot to say about the Mandalorian trailer.
This is Brian from Ohio, a longtime Patreon member. And I just wanted to touch base about the trailer that was just... Oh, never mind. I'll call back.
Okay.
Okay.
We won't mind. We'll wait for you to call back, Brian. The
Brian,
phone
give us a
line
call. The lines are open.
Yeah. And so you have to call back, Brian. Now the pressure's on. Let's go to Greg.
All right.
Chut, Jason and Jimmy. This is Greg from Denver. I'm just excited to see Star Wars in the theater again. Looking forward to The Mandalorian and Grogu. For certain, I'm trying not to get too wrapped up in all the pre-opinions as to whether it'll be good or bad. I'm just going in to have fun, like I try to do with all Star Wars, just enjoy myself like I did when I was a kid, and not have too many preconceived notions. So I'm really looking forward to it, and I'm hoping I maybe can make it out to do the group thing and watch with you guys in Cleveland for the first screening.
All right.
My predictions, if we throw those out, so speculation, maybe Mando gets by we'll say the Republic, Sigourney Weaver's character to take out some of the Shadow Collective, it looks like, who's stationed on Hoth. And then they pull maybe one of the Hutts to pull a bounty hunter in Embo to go after him, and that's where some of the confrontation comes from. I don't know. That's just some speculation on my part. Either way, I am just excited to get some Star Wars and get the wars back in the theater and put my butt in a theater seat and eat some popcorn and turn into a kid. Feel like a kid for a few hours again. So that's my opinion. Hopefully I can make it to Cleveland. RFR number 1.
Gotta love Greg. I mean, Greg is keeping it positive. I love his outlook. His expectations seem to be very reasonable. You know, so yeah, I love it, and I think his guessing about the plot, where you got Sigourney Weaver, what is it, Colonel Ward?
Yeah,
she's contracting Mando to go out and hunt down these Shadow Collectives, and that maybe the Hutts are involved because the Shadow Collective in turn hires through the Hutts a bounty hunter like Embo to go after Mando. But then I think we had someone call in last week. By the way, if you haven't listened to last week's show, the live after show we did, wait till you hear Blake at the end. Man, Blake's take was wild. He was throwing all kinds of stuff at us about what he thinks is going to happen in this movie. Great imagination. But somebody had said that he thought, it might have been actually been Blake, that maybe Grogu ends up being kidnapped by the Hutts, and Mando is going around and hunting them down to retrieve Grogu. That there might be some sort of kidnapping of Grogu at some point, and that's a clever way to sort of sideline Grogu for a little bit and focus the attention on Mando in the story. But it's not a well that they can go every time they tell a Mando Grogu story is have Grogu kidnapped, just so, you know, they can put him on ice for a few.
Right. They've already done it with Moff Gideon kidnapping Grogu. And yeah, you definitely don't want to be hitting that well all the time. You know, we had those complaints about Clone Wars when Padme would often get kidnapped.
Oh, yeah,
like,
right.
What? They're kidnapping Padme again? Come on. Come on. But I like Greg's approach. He says he's not letting any of the naysayers get him down. And one thing that is refreshing about this film as it's starting to ramp up, we're only 3 months away from it, is the at least I haven't seen any nasty online discourse, really. You know, sure, you've seen critics and stuff, and then there are the occasional dirtbags who want Star Wars to fail, but there hasn't been the gatekeeping that was so present during the sequel era with people saying, what do you mean you don't love Rose Tico? I mean, things like that. All of the
yes, right.
All of that anxiety, all of these experts out there and like people with their scoops and all of that stuff. This has been refreshingly free of all of that fandom jockeying that went on during the sequel era,
where the lines were drawn. It was us versus them. You either hated it or you loved everything. Yeah,
and every other week it was something. Where's Ray? Because there was like a chess set that was released that didn't have a Ray figure, and so that made all the feminist fans extremely upset. And there was like something every other week, and it was really just taxing and exhausting.
Well, maybe that's one of the benefits, the collateral benefits of the luster being off, the shine being off of Star Wars. It's no longer a target by all of these people with all of their agendas and all of that. And it's just for us normal people that want to enjoy Star Wars.
It's just the old fans. We're still here. You couldn't get rid of us no matter how hard you tried. Now we're the only ones left. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? All the activists who wanted to take Star Wars and mold it into tools for their own purposes, they're all gone. Now you're just stuck with people who are here for, God forbid, Star Wars. Oh, yeah. Remember us? Yeah, we're still here. We're still here, and we're getting younger by the minute. Don't you kid yourself.
I love it.
And
all right.
One of us, a proud member of that group, is RFR listener Manny, who called the RFR voicemail hotline.
Chut, Jason and Jimmy Mack. This is Manny from Queens, first time, long time. I just wanted to briefly touch on an aspect of the new Mandalorian and Grogu trailer that's important to me as a fan of the puppetry and the aliens of Star Wars. And that aspect is the look of the Hutts. Why is it that the Hutts never look right in their digital forms, going back to the 1997 special edition of A New Hope? It seems like no matter what they do, be it the twins in the Book of Boba Fett or even the depictions of the Hutts in the Clone Wars, they never seem to look right to me. And the Hutt twins in the Mando Grogu trailer, again, seem to be falling right in line with this disappointing trend. And it makes me really wish they would just go back to using puppets for the Hutts, since nothing they've done has ever matched the look of that incredible Jabba puppet they used in Return of the Jedi. Other than that, I really enjoyed the trailer, and I'm looking forward to the new movie. Love the show. High ground.
I am 1,000% in agreement with Manny. I hate the digital Hutts. They've never looked good. And this isn't just, me being nostalgic for, being a 6-year-old and seeing Jabba on the big screen. It was a huge moment, but I think they have as big a problem with the digital Hutts as they have with Yoda. Maybe even bigger, because I think the challenge with a digital Hutt is that they're reluctant to give it like a skeletal structure. Whereas the practical model, maybe they weren't thinking of it in terms of biology having a skeleton, because I don't think that Hutts necessarily do or whatever, but just the being forced to make it in the real universe, in the real world, you had to have some sort of structure. And so it made it feel more real and organic. But the digital Hutt is just this it's just a blob, and it just feels too fake. It feels too digital. Always has. Every single one that they've done. And they've really tried to improve it. I get that. Every iteration, home video iteration of episode 4, they've tried to fix that Jabba, and then the Jabba appeared in Phantom Menace, and it was a little bit better than the special edition. And then we had the twins, like he says in Book of Boba Fett, and those were okay. As far as digital Hutts go, they were better, even on a TV budget. But yeah, bring back practical Hutts, please.
Well, yeah, obviously he's talking about Rada the Hutt, and you can't have a puppet involved in the gladiator circumstances that we find Rada involved in. I don't think you can pull that off, the type of action they want from the character. You have to go computer generated. But I did send you a freeze frame of Rada. I just emailed it to you. And it's a freeze frame from the trailer that I cleaned up. And you can really make out the detail of Rada pretty well. It's not perfect, but it shows you what this character is going to look like. And he's vastly different than any other Hutts we've ever seen because he has this muscular midsection that just simply doesn't exist with Jabba. And it got me thinking a lot about Jabba. Is when we see Jabba in Return of the Jedi, is his pose like the equivalent of sort of like lying down on your side and your head's kind of propped up on your arm and stuff? Because it's just it almost seems like he goes from tail to stomach to head. There's no midsection with Jabba. But when you look at Rada has a very muscular midsection that makes him almost look elongated compared to Jabba. Did you find that photo?
I haven't. I'm just getting it loaded. I'm getting it loaded up here. So yes, he does. And I think that I don't like this. And I know that they need it for the story. I get it. And that's fine. But yeah, I just always assumed that Filoni really started this with what was it, the Trandoshans, when we first saw a Bosk, right?
Oh yeah,
a Bosk in Clone Wars. It was early on. It was pretty early, that first Trandoshan, and we were like, that doesn't look like Bosk. Because we had seen the way George treated like Rhodians. They all looked exactly the same. Sometimes they were the exact same costume, or maybe they changed the vest color or whatever. So like in George's world, they all looked exactly alike. All the Rhodians looked exact. So, Dave was like, there are fat ones and there are skinny ones. And he changed all this, physiognomy in these characters. And now they're doing that with Hutts. And it's like, I don't know that I need the Hutts to have all this diversity in how they look. I know that from an evolutionary standpoint, that's inevitable, but do we need even if you have a gladiator Hutt, like Jabba was supposed to be huge. Does he need abs? Does he, to be a gladiator? No, he's enormous, and he's got the power of being this slug. So this is not my favorite design, I'll be honest. If you love it, great. Love what you love. But I like my Hutts being lazy, slobby gangsters with dancing girls. And not necessarily these Hutts.
But as I look at the photo here of Rada, I mean, basically, if you cut that midsection out and then just move the arms, shoulders, and head down to where the waist is, you have Jabba. So it's almost like there's a whole nother part of the Hutt's body, like he's longer than your typical Hutt. And he has this midsection that simply doesn't exist when it comes to Jabba. Jabba's just tail, arms, shoulders, and head. But Rada has an entire midsection, and it's so crazy. And we've heard things that Rada will be featured more in the film than just this gladiator combat scene, that he will be featured with Din, is like they kind of team up or something. That's the rumor we've been hearing. So here's this is the Hutt equivalent of Filoni's short and stocky Trandoshan, who, by the way, you're thinking of Ga-Noct from season 1. Yeah.
Season 1. Yeah.
Downfall of a Droid. He was this Trandoshan. I think
he takes a saber to the gut, doesn't he? And he dies. I think that was one of the first kills.
God does. And he's the only character in Star Wars to say his own name when he dies. Gah! You know how many years I've been waiting to tell that joke.
Oh,
you know?
man,
It's
a long time.
It's like, oh, I forgot to say that on the round table. And so now here we are, 16 years later, and I'm getting my second chance.
I love it.
Yes, long live Star Wars. Star Wars is forever. So there's Rada the Hutt, and he's huge. So, it'll be interesting to see. I'm withholding judgment until I actually see the film. But I can tell why you'd be a little put off by the design of this hut. But again, it's something different. So he's huge, though, he has a whole different segment of his body compared to
It's like if you build a snowman, the typical snowman is maybe 3 balls. You got the big one for there's like a 4th ball in this hut snowman.
Yes. The way I look at it is he is the 3-balled snowman and Jabba is the 2-balled snowman.
The 2-ball, exactly.
But right. That doesn't sound right, And I don't want. I'm tired of talking about slug anatomy right now. I think we're just going to find ourselves in big trouble. We'll be the first podcast to be fined by the FCC. That's all I need. That's all I need. We have one more call. This is from Jason, and he follows up. Jason is former military. Thank you for your service. And he expands a little bit on that playing card that gets handed to Din Djarin as he's being sent on his mission. And when I saw the trailer, I was like, oh, that's kind of like the playing cards they handed out to soldiers, U.S. soldiers, fighting in Desert Storm. But I didn't, it was just sort of a vague memory I had. Jason gives us a little more detail on those military decks of cards.
Hey, Chud, this is Jason from Mount Vernon. I was just listening to the live after show, but you're talking about the military play cards. Well, I was in the Army during Desert Storm, and indeed, yes, we did. There were actually 2 decks of cards. One deck of cards was all the aircraft, tanks, ships, anything that they might have. The other deck was, of course, all the baddies. We had to memorize their faces, and but it is true, and wish I still had them, but you know how the deck of cards disappears, so. All right, boys. Clunky.
That's a great sign off.
Yeah.
I love that. Well, thanks for the, thank you for your service and also for giving us a little more details on those cards and proving that Jimmy Mac's vague memory was indeed, as it always is, baffling as it might be, one of the best memories about some things that you'll ever find. There will be a guest. I'll be like, I think this person was on the show. I think it was February 2020. It's just incredible. Oh my gosh!
Thank you.
Anyway,
thank you. I try.
Great memory.
I try.
Well, that about wrap things up here for this week on Rebel Force Radio. But fear not, we will be back next week for a lot more Star Wars discussion. We are your source for the Force, after all. I'm really looking forward to some of our Maul talk next week, looking at the Maul merch. There was a new character that was revealed. It went right by me. I thought it was just another Darth Maul, but Mac was like, that's a different character. So we'll get into all that and a whole lot more next week. If you need more RFR to tide you over in the meantime, look no further than Patreon, patreon.com/Rebel Force Radio. All those exclusive podcasts like the Q&A and the Babu Freaks and the RPG, all that stuff you can find nowhere else but on Rebel Force Radio's Patreon. Also, it is the best community of Star Wars fans in the galaxy. You'll never find a better one. And great conversations always happening over there, and people that support each other and know how to talk about Star Wars in a fun way that it's just fun. Keep the fun in Star Wars. If you're looking for the fun in Star Wars, look no further than the Patreon tribe over there. You can find us on YouTube. Man, oh man, is the YouTube channel been busy. Mac is just going all out with content all the time. And it really is nice because it gives you a taste of what the full show video can be. So if that's something that you're interested in, that is available on the Patreon, but you can get a little taste with some of the great highlights that are going up there on YouTube. So youtube.com/Rebel Force Radio. As we said earlier, the socials that we are most active on are Facebook and Instagram. But occasionally, if Jim doesn't know what he's on, you might see a tweet pop up on.
I don't know what I'm on.
Over there on
I never
X,
know what I'm on.
And the official website for all things and everything, Rebel Force Radio, rebelforceradio.com. If you really want to help us out, there's one way you can do it. Anyone can do it because it costs nothing, and that is just to do what you're doing right now, which is listen to this podcast. Tell your friends about this podcast. With a new Star Wars movie on the horizon like this, multiple movies coming out here as we look at the next several years, please tell your friends about this podcast. If they're getting that Star Wars fandom rekindled in them, which I think Mandalorian and Grogu is going to do that for a lot of people, then let them know about RFR. We appreciate it. We'd love to have you subscribe. And if your podcatcher of choice allows you to leave a review, we'd love to have that too. Just one simple, small rule, please.
Make them good.
All right. We'll see you next week for more Rebel Force Radio. For RFR, I'm Jason.
And I'm Jimmy Mack.
And remember,
The Force will be with you, always.
Bye.